Welcome to the Late Night Race Review.
Best volume in my career, guys. You cannot imagine how this tastes. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say this is my first smooth operation in Williams. And not the last. And not the last.
Don't forget to support the podcast by hitting those like, follow, and subscribe buttons.
Welcome on in to the Late Night Race Review. My name is Aidan Scott, and joining me today is Isidro Gonzalez, and returning this week is our fellow F1 panelist from across the pond, Mr. Damien Scott. How are you chaps doing this evening?
Hey, going well.
Yeah, doing great.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Damien, both myself and Isidro agree that we're highly offended that you ditched us last episode to go see Oasis. I mean, and I quote myself from our last episode, the absolute audacity. What do you have to say for yourself?
I have no regrets. I would ditch you guys any day for an Oasis concert.
I was going to say, was it worth it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
He's a groupie.
That's it. He's a groupie.
I'm too old for that now, but yeah, I suppose I've seen them twice on this tour, so yeah, I suppose you could call me a groupie, yeah.
I'm just kidding. But I hope you had a great time anyway. Anyway, folks, this weekend we return to the land of fire and wind for some close racing in the streets of Baku. That's right, that one track with those silly 90-degree turns and the smallest gaps to try and fit your car through on an F1 calendar. Oh, another street track, am I right? But before we get into all of the carnage that unfolded over the weekend, we have a quick bit of F1 news to cover. So, firstly, big congratulations to Alex Dunn in getting P3 in the F2 sprint race, which now makes 7 podiums for the Irishman. So big congrats to Alex and the entire team for that. But condolences on the feature race as Alex unfortunately DNF'd. But keep fighting strong, Alex, and hopefully you'll come back stronger in Qatar. Next, also as well, we have Baku has been extended to 2030. Great news for those who like street tracks. And finally, F1 has announced 6 sprint races for the 2026 calendar, which will be China, Miami, Canada, Silverstone, Zandvoort, and Singapore. So yeah, at this stage, chaps, it's probably no secret that I'm not a fan of street tracks. Personally, I just don't like them. And I think this weekend really brought out my own personal feelings towards this style of racing. Because before we talk about the main event itself and we go through the actual race and all that sort of stuff, we do need to talk about the absolute carnage that was qualifying. Firstly, a scheduled 1-hour session that turned into a 2-hour session because we had about 7 or 8 red flags and about 6 cars into the wall. I mean, and look, this is just my own opinion. How can anyone find that enjoyable to watch? Look, what I'll do is real quick, chaps, because I do want to get your thoughts on qualifying. First of all, I'm going to give a quick rundown just on how qualifying went. Firstly, we had Albon, who crashed at turn 1. He eventually qualified P19. Hülkenberg then crashed at turn 4, which meant he ended up in P17. We had Gasly, who red flagged the session, but then on top of that, because he red flagged it, Colapinto was behind him and crashed straight into the wall, which meant that he qualified in P16. So it was Ocon, Albon, Hülkenberg, Colapinto, and Gasly all out of Q1. Then we had Leclerc, who went off into the runoff area twice, but then eventually he crashed at turn 15. I am stupid. And then he ended up qualifying P10. Then we had Hamilton out of Q2. He ended up in P12. And then also as well, both Astons were out of that. But then eventually we had Oscar Pastrami Sandwich crashed at turn 3 and ended up qualifying P9. Now also as well, Norris did hit the wall, but he didn't crash, thankfully. And then pretty much he ended up in P7 for starting on the grid. We had both Mercedes in P4 with Antonelli and P5 at Russell. Sonoda made an appearance this weekend. He finally decided he was an F1 driver and qualified P6. And then finally we had Verstappen in P1, Sainz in P2, and Mr. King Dick coming in P3 by pure and absolute luck. So chaps, real quick, I want to get your thoughts on qualifying. Damien, you weren't here with us last episode. What was your thoughts on qualifying?
Probably the single best session of the season. It was
my
brilliant.
God.
I loved every second of it. Give me more 2-hour sessions. I'll take them anytime.
Oh, Who? Who? How can you sit there and enjoy that? Like, look, okay. At the
How
end of
could
the
you
day,
not?
I look. I know people do enjoy street tracks. I'm not trying to say, oh, street tracks are bad, whatever, like that. Personally, I just don't like the style of racing because it ends up just being this single file going through the streets, DRS trains. And yes, I know there's DRS trains at every track, but I just find when it comes to street tracks, I just find it incredibly boring to watch. Just myself personally, but usually at street tracks, like throughout the season, and a couple of seasons we've seen this, usually we can get the sessions pretty much wrapped up within the hour, but that went on for 2 hours. Just Baku specifically, just how that track was designed. Like, I know obviously they can't go out and design the track around the streets. I know they did that with Las Vegas kind of in a little way, but like with Baku, obviously they had to sort of map it out based on whatever the street layout was itself. But it's just, you have these stupid 90-degree corners and another 90-degree corner, and then they're like, here, try and fit your massive F1 car into this tiny little hole going up this castle session and see, if that works out, and that'll make for some great coverage. But like, I mean, how do you find that enjoyable?
So what you're saying is that the drivers have to be skillful and not just be able to plant an accelerator, right?
Yes, no, skill is involved. Like, skill is
Turning
involved
the
in
wheel,
trying.
going around corners. It's a great track. I love it. Actually, the best thing that ever happened to Baku is moving it from June to September. So you're kind of getting into this autumn kind of period where we have a little bit of a tailwind. We have rain that came into our session. I think the switch of the timing of the Baku Grand Prix, or as Azerbaijan Grand Prix, I can't remember which one they call it, but yeah, bringing it into September has really kind of elevated the danger, I suppose, and yeah, it makes it a little bit more spicy than perhaps it used to be. But yeah, I like it because it's a street track, but it has kind of some really good straights that are kind of wide, so you have to make your overtaking opportunities at those points, and there's plenty of chances to do it. Whereas Monaco, I can understand it's a pretty short track, but I think Azerbaijan is like the third or fourth longest lap on the whole circuit, on the whole F1 calendar. So I think it kind of gives us a good in between a circuit and a street circuit. It kind of gives us a little bit of both. So yeah, I love it, I have to say.
I don't know. I feel like we're probably going to be at a stalemate here when it comes to this in terms of opinions. But again, look, that's the beauty of life. It's opinions. People either like it or they don't. Personally, I'm not a fan of street tracks. I just love normal circuits. Throw in tailwinds, throw in really bad weather conditions, all that kind of stuff. That's skillful to drive around those tracks. But I mean, it's just street tracks I just find them so boring. Isidro, what are your thoughts on qualifying? Just that whole session in total, 2 hours. I mean, well, what are your thoughts?
It was very entertaining 2 hours. And to be fair, if I was a fan attending this Grand Prix, I would be ecstatic to have this extra hour on the qualifying day. It was a great day out. So yeah, I think if I was a fan and I was there, I would truly appreciate the extra hour on the qualifying. And I agree with everything Damien said. I think Baku is a great track, and the fact that they moved in the calendar for the autumn, I think makes it even better.
It's okay. Look, what I'm going to do is in post, when I'm editing this for today's episode, I'm just going to use AI to completely regenerate everything you guys both said there. So I'm just kidding. But look, no, that's your opinion. That's what you guys think. You like street tracks and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, look, I have to agree. Like, it's good to get your money's worth, especially if you're paying, a certain amount to go to an F1 weekend. Like, I know, obviously, look at Monza for the last race, one of the quickest F1 races we've ever had. And I'm sure there are people there, especially in Italy, for the cost of going there alone, obviously spend quite a pretty penny to get tickets, especially if you're in the grandstands just along that kind of like that pit wall sort of section, whatever, on the main straight. It's like, I agree. Yeah, you can kind of get your money's worth. But personally, I'm just not a fan of street tracks. That's my own thing. But yeah, look, mainly, folks, it was total carnage. People enjoyed it, some people didn't, but there was a lot of cars in the wall, and I think a lot of the F1 drivers felt it was pretty much destruction derby on Saturday rather than an actual qualifying session. But moving on from qualifying, we do need to talk about the main event, which was today, which was the race. So yeah, pretty much, we thought that we had everything reset from yesterday. We thought we had no more crashes, and we thought we were going to get off to a good start. But one chap in particular, we're going to start off with this team first. I have them a little bit further down the list, but I'm going to jump into them straight away. Mr. Oscar Piastri. At the very start of the race. So let me summarize this. So at the very start of the race, basically what happened was he had a jump start. So that was a penalty that was already going to be coming his way. But then he realized that he had the jump start. He stalled his car. Every single car went around him. He ended up dropping down to P20, and then a turn turn three, I think it was, or possibly turn four, around that section, straight into the wall, complete lockup, and that was him DNF'd. And he decided to sit at the side of the track for the rest of the race and watch the live coverage of Sky Sports. So yeah, pretty much what this means now. Like, I know obviously, look, there's a lot of Oscar Piastri fans out there. Real quick, Isidro. Well,
you forgot the deadly scene. Because of Piastri mistake, Alonso got 5-second penalty because Alonso react to Piastri. So that's another
true.
Scene.
That's another sin in my book. But that is true. Now, in fairness, though, Alonso, he did come across the radio and he did say, look, I messed up that start. You know, he took the 5 seconds on the chin and he moved on. And obviously that did drop him down throughout the order. But the one thing I have to say about this, like, look, I know there's a lot of Oscar Piastri fans out there. And I know, obviously, there's not really a lot of Lando Norris fans. And we've obviously seen that from the group chat ourselves. Not a lot of people like Norris. I don't know. I'm a big Lando Norris fan. I think he's a great driver. Yes, he still has a lot to learn and he has still a long way to go to being a world champion. But I really feel that today's incident, especially on lap one, it just meant that it has brought that drivers' championship ever so closer, because we know at this stage coming into this weekend, chaps, that McLaren were more than likely going to come out of this as constructors' champions. Obviously, that's now going to go on to Singapore because of how the classification ended up in the results. But I feel that, you know, now that we've known for a long time that McLaren were going to win this, we now have something else to sort of, you know, be on the edge of our seats for. Because, you know, back in 2023, when we had the whole Red Bull dominance, Max Verstappen, we knew he was going to get both of them. And we were then just looking at second place and third place. And for a lot of F1 fans, it was kind of a little bit boring, kind of hailing back to the Hamilton days, if you want to sort of say, when he was completely dominant. But I really feel today it has brought that ever so closer, because right now Piastri is sitting on 324 points and Norris is on 299. So pretty much that is 25 points between the two of them. So with Oscar with a race in hand, because I'm really sure 25 points is the max. But overall, look, Isidro, I'm going to bring you in on this one. What were your thoughts on McLaren overall? What were you think of their performance? I know obviously when I talk about McLaren, I'm mainly talking about Lando Norris because Piastri was out on lap one.
I think Piastri did the crash on purpose, just to avoid that down the road. He will hear on the radio saying, Piastri, please let Lando pass. You need him down the... And he just decided, nope, not this weekend.
Nope.
It's my way. So just crash the wall and see the race. Legs up, enjoy the race, enjoy the sunset. I think that was his thinking. And Lando, he had a golden opportunity to get more points, and yet he failed miserably. He just stayed there behind Lawson, Tsunoda.
Yeah, but my question to you is though, Isidro, like, do you really feel that that was his fault? I mean, this is the second race in a row now. We had it at Monza and we've now had it at Baku, where the McLaren pit crew messed up that pit stop. Like, I know obviously, what's his name? The engineer or the team lead of McLaren, he said, oh, the pit stop wouldn't really have mattered. Yeah, Stella. I know it really wouldn't have mattered in terms of like the championship or whatever, but like, do you feel that that was really his fault? I mean, it wasn't his fault that he had that delayed pit stop, you know?
It was not his fault, but during the race, there was a certain time that he was slow. Even Leclerc had easily just overtake Norris, because Norris was just slow, not overtaking everyone. He was maybe 20 laps in the same position. You could barely notice that Norris was there, and Norris should have fought very, very hard, because Piastri is off the race, meaning that he could have, I'm not saying that he could probably get a podium, but he could definitely go to P4 at least.
No, I totally agree with that. I even seen some myself. I really thought it was a case that he was very much capable of securing at least P4 or P5 in that race. But personally, yes, at the start of the race, he spent too much time in that whole Leclerc, Hamilton, and whoever else it was, DRS train. He didn't really, push any further to try and get himself up there. And then eventually, when he tried to start showing some pace behind Tsunoda before he came in for his pit stop, that's where I can kind of see where he was starting to come alive and he was starting to really put in the laps. But then, of course, the pit stop just completely messed up that whole thing. And then again, he then got caught behind the whole Lawson, Tsunoda, DRS train, and it was just literally that until the very last lap, which was unfortunate to see because, again, look, obviously in the Drivers' Championship, every point counts, so it would have been nice to see him get a little bit further. Damien, real quick, what are your thoughts on McLaren this weekend?
Well, where to start? They've, I suppose, been faltering a little bit in the past couple of weeks. Mistakes here and there, like say last race as well. Their pit stops were just not where they should be. Today with Lando's pit stop as well, it was like plus 2 seconds on what it should have been. I think it was the front right gun had an issue when trying to get the wheel nut on, and that kind of screwed him a little bit. Like he needed to get more than P7. He didn't really make too much of a dent into the lead that Oscar has, and it was a great opportunity to bite back into that lead that Oscar has, and he threw it away. But I saw after the race he was like, I don't think it was a missed opportunity. I think he's just trying to save face a little bit, like he or the team royally screwed up in that opportunity, his side of the garage anyway, to get him back into that. Tsunoda, obviously we'll talk about Red Bull later, but Tsunoda finished 6th. Lawson was ahead of him. He could have well got up into at least 4th place if he, got the finger out. But he just didn't take his opportunity. I think both drivers on the McLaren side choked this weekend. Obviously Oscar binned it twice, and Lando just didn't take advantage of it. So I'm not sure if the championship pressure is getting to them. I didn't think it would affect Oscar as much as it has, but he's probably starting to crack a little bit because they were all self-inflicted issues that he had. Overcooked it going into those corners and smashed up his car twice. And Lando then just sat back and kind of, chickened out a little bit. So they have to have a little bit of a regroup, a couple of weeks until obviously everybody flies over to Singapore, but they need a 1-2 next week, or at least a clean weekend of no issues and good pit stops to really kind of get themselves back on track. Yeah, no, definitely. They need to have a good, clean weekend, get that Constructors' Championship in the bag and just move on from that. But you know what, chaps? Definitely a tough episode already for me, but not a lot of Lando love going on here. And both of you love street tracks and want 2-hour qualifying sessions. Jesus, I don't know if we should move on to the next team, but sure, look, we will anyway. we only get 3 or 4 street tracks a year. It's not too bad. You have to give us a little bit of street track love, That's more than enough. One is more than enough. I'll give you Monaco. Do we have more coming? I think they're talking about Chicago, aren't they, in the future as well? I swear to God, if they add in something like Chicago or another street circuit, I don't care the location, but another street circuit, please, no. I know this already, this Madrid ring thing is like a street track semi, tell a kid who's like 6-year-old in a class to draw like a mad racing track hybrid version. Like it's crazy, this new Madrid track. I've seen the layout. I've seen kind of some virtual or VR sort of footage of what it's going to look like, the whole banking thing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that looks kind of cool, but the majority of that track looks like an absolute nightmare. I mean, again, 90-degree turns and all this stupid shit. I mean, look, that's next year's problem. We'll look at it when we get into it, and who knows, maybe it might end up being actually a good race, but we'll see when Madrid comes along. But moving on to the next team, and I think definitely at this stage the prancing horse has turned into a prancing pony
me and has definitely left the stable at this stage, because Ferrari definitely had another difficult weekend again. Now, I know obviously, look, they were on track. Cars didn't end up in the wall, which was good for them. Obviously, coming out of qualifying, that was definitely a disappointing thing. But obviously, you know, we've seen the difference with Leclerc and Hamilton. Leclerc definitely seemed to struggle a lot. Like you could see he had the power in that car today, but he struggled a lot, especially in that Tsunoda, Norris, DRS train, and then especially when he was kind of battling against Liam Lawson. I mean, eventually he just kind of gave up on Liam Lawson, and then we seen the switch back with Lewis Hamilton. Like, Hamilton had tried to have a go at getting up to Norris, and fair dues to him, he did. Like, he managed to get up to Lando Norris. He managed to get into that DRS train and become another carriage in that absolute bore fest that was just a DRS train through a big massive city. But eventually they did end up in P8 and P9, but they did secure some good points. But the unfortunate thing, and the reason why I say another difficult weekend for Ferrari, is mainly because this weekend is now the weekend where Mercedes have overtaken Ferrari in the constructors. Mercedes are now sitting at 290 and Ferrari have now moved down to third at 286. Isidro, your thoughts on Ferrari? We've know our thoughts throughout the entire season, but like, first of all, what does Ferrari need to do going into the last 7 races, and where is their major downfall? What is your opinion on Ferrari going forward here? Do they have a chance to bring back that second place?
No, unless they take back Carlos Sainz, because Carlos Sainz was the last driver that gave Ferrari a win. So
hands off, not getting him.
And today he got a podium before Hamilton could get his podium. So I don't think this year is Ferrari's year.
Yeah,
they should. It was promising during FP1, FP2, FP3, and then comes when things are serious, qualifying and race day, it was just disappointment all around.
Yeah,
and I don't think they can fix the season. For this season is lost basically, and the fact that they just dropped from second to third, it means that it's game over, because I don't see them being able to pick up the pace now that Mercedes is showing more. Russell is doing good. Kimi, it was rough the last 3 or 4 races, but he's looking better now. And Ferrari just going down and down. And this weekend was like I was saying, it showed promising, but come race day, it was disappointment all over again.
yeah.
So there's it's better to focus on 2026, because 2025, it just accept. It's less painful if you accept right now that Ferrari will probably stay in the third place.
Yeah,
just because Red Bull doesn't have 2 drivers giving points all the time. Otherwise, Red Bull would probably overtake Ferrari.
Yeah, I totally agree. As a Ferrari fan, or a fellow Ferrari fan, or I don't know at this stage if even are a Ferrari fan anymore, Citro. But as a fellow Ferrari fan, I will say I totally agree with that statement there. And I even think, to be honest, I don't really hold much hope. And I agree with that as well. The fact that I think that they more than likely will stay in third, because we've even seen this, was it last year or back in 2023, going down to the last race in the season. And, you know, big brain Leclerc was trying to pull out the moves to try and secure that second place in the championship for Ferrari, you know, trying to defend against Russell and Hamilton, and obviously Ferrari dropped the ball again and they choked under pressure and they ended up inevitably finishing in third in the constructors. So yeah, look, as a Ferrari fan, they're my number 1 team. I hate to talk shit about them, but yeah, I think it's time to turn the page of 2025 and just move on to 26, and hopefully these new series of regulations will I don't know. I more than likely will probably be in the same position again. But look, I hope 26 and these new series of regulations will bring Ferrari back, to hopefully fighting for a Constructors' Championship. It would be great to see them fighting there amongst McLaren, Red Bull, and all that kind of stuff for the top place, and not having what we have now, where one team just skyrockets ahead, in points, and we know that, okay, well, this team is going to win anyway. Now who's going to come second and third? But look, we can kind of put together the next team and we'll kind of throw them into this, because obviously, again, that was sort of the talking point there in that P2, P3 championship battle. Mercedes, I have to say, Mercedes definitely had a really good weekend this weekend. I know obviously George Russell, he was feeling a little bit under the weather. You could even hear him on the radio. He sounded like something from The Walking Dead, basically. He definitely wasn't having a good time around those streets this weekend, but they definitely managed to put in some really good performance, and especially Kimi Antonelli coming off the back of a couple of really difficult weekends. He's had a rough patch, Kimi Antonelli, so it's good to now see going into this weekend he put up a really good fight to manage to finish there in P4, and then eventually as well, of course, look, we had Russell in P2. But Damien, I want to bring you in on this one because I know obviously Mercedes is your secret passion from besides Williams, or to quote you from the start of the season, watch out for the dark horse, which is Mercedes. What are your thoughts on Mercedes this weekend?
Tough spot for Mercedes, they pretty much they still are the dark horse. They're, as you say now, they're flying up the team standings as well into second, and obviously Ferrari are pretty good at leaving the door open to give other teams chances this season. So they're taking that chance, and they've got two very good drivers. I think over the past couple of races, obviously, Antonelli has had his issues with consistency and crashing cars and taking people out, and having those issues. And I think Toto Wolff said, I can't remember exactly the quote, but he was kind of like, I'm kind of a little disappointed in his performances. He needs a clean weekend, and that's exactly what he got this time out. So in qualifying, he kept his nose clean. He was fast. He was getting through the rounds, putting in some really good performances. I think he did a really good lap, but he exceeded track limits. I think it got deleted on him, and then he had to go again, and he just nailed it then. So Kimi did exactly what he needed to do. I think that the change in the rear suspension back to what it was has given both drivers that bit of confidence in the car. I think they've had that for a couple of races now, and the performances are definitely getting better. So fair play to Kimi. He did what he needed to do this weekend, qualified fourth. Russell as well, being sick and trying to drive a Formula One car. I couldn't imagine how stressful that is on your body. These guys are used to it, but still, when you have a cold or a flu or something, you're not your best, and he still got it into P5 and in the qualifying, and race second position for George, P4 for Kimi. So Mercedes had a really good weekend. They got on it, and George, I think, managed his race very well. You could kind of hear in the messages back and forth between the pit wall and himself. They were keeping an eye on the tires. They wanted to extend it out a little bit. They were looking for the undercuts, and he just absolutely nailed it. So fair play to George. He had a really good weekend. And Mercedes are, it's only one race, but the stability looks like it's back. So let's see how they go next time out in Singapore.
Yeah, definitely. No, Mercedes had a really strong weekend this weekend, and I have to say, hats off to Kimi Antonelli. Again, a couple of bad weekends he's had with the team, but his performance there this weekend, especially during the Grand Prix, was awesome. It was really, really good, and especially when he overtook King Dick there on lap 22. Just want to make a special mention to that there. But moving on anyway, let us talk about the team that hardly got any coverage, bar one driver in particular, Red Bull. Zedra, I'm going to bring you in on this one because I want to hear your thoughts on this. So obviously, look, at the start of the race, we had Max, who just basically, he took off into the distance. Well, not so far into the distance. He was just managing his pace, especially because he was on on those hard tires. Obviously, look, even after the safety car on lap 1, he just took off again, and he was then 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 7, 8, and then it just kept on going up and up and up. And then basically he just was in a different postcode, and he was just doing typical Max 2023 things and just racing his own race and just managing his pace and stuff like that. Now, obviously, look, that upgrade that Red Bull brought to Monza, that has definitely helped Max out in a big way. Not obviously, I know obviously every point matters when it comes to a constructors and a drivers championship, but look, we obviously know at this stage McLaren, they're going to be bringing that probably back in Singapore unless two of them decide to crash into a wall next weekend. But I think just even for Max's overall result in the drivers championship, I think this has really given him a big boost and like a big boost of confidence, especially having the car under him to put in those laps to qualify P1 and then obviously to go in and have the race that he did here today and finish in P1. But then on top of that as well, we had Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki has been very absent from the points section of the of the overall results throughout the season. But Yuki finally decided to wake up and join the fight, and he managed to finish up in P6. But he had an awful time behind Liam Lawson throughout the majority of that race. Obviously, he was trying to fend off Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc and all that kind of stuff, but he definitely had a really big struggle against Liam Lawson. Isidro, what are your thoughts on Red Bull this weekend?
I think Red Bull was it was a bit lucky. The qualification didn't really matter because Max got the pole position without the issues of the red flags. But in the race, I think the fact that Piastri was out of the race so soon, and also that Norris was not fighting for a podium, it gave Max the confidence that he had everything he needed to win the race. He had a nice track. The car was doing better than it was 6 or 7 races ago, and he was happy with the car, and that was enough just to do a clean race. And typical, like you're saying, Max 2023, where we don't see Max in the screen after 15 laps. We better see that Red Bull. Meanwhile, Tsunoda, he was very busy for those 51 laps. he was fighting Norris, which is not easy, and trying also to overtake Lawson, but Lawson did a great job defending that position. It was Lawson and Tsunoda was showcasing to see who remains in 2026 and who gets the boot. And today was, I think that was what Tsunoda's trying to prove, that he still has some moves, some skills, and Lawson was doing the same. But basically, Lawson, he got P3 in qualification. He today got P5, and he was able to defend Tsunoda and Norris. But on the Tsunoda, I think he did the best he could with the Red Bull.
Yeah, I think he did. He did try. He tried his best, and just a little sort of side mention here. I seen this during the week. I seen a post coming up on, I don't know if it was F1 or some maybe F1 social account or whatever it was, and it was talking about how Isaac Hajar has been like playing a little bit coy in regards to moving up to Red Bull, and everyone in the comment section was like, don't do it. If you want to absolutely tank your career, don't go. But obviously, you're talking about there, you had Yuki and you had Lawson there fighting against each other, trying to show Red Bull, oh look, we're a class. Don't do it. Who cares? If it was me, I would just crash straight into the wall and be like, yeah, here, go on, take it. You want this second seat? Yeah, exactly. You want this second seat so bad? You take that second seat so bad. But no, I do agree. But at the end of the day, yes, Yuki, he did show that he had some moves left in him, and he showed that he can fight up there in the top 10. But again, look, Lawson obviously had the better of him. I'd have to, make myself get sick after this, after saying that sentence. But have to give him some credit. He did somewhat well today. I will tip my hat off to him. But yeah, no, definitely Max overall. What a race! I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I think the fact that, as you said there, Oscar was out, Lando wasn't really on the charge to try and get up there to the podium. He had Sainz and Lawson behind him. I don't mean that as, I'm not throwing shade at Sainz or Lawson or anything like that. Well, maybe more so Lawson. But I think obviously the caliber of driver that Max is, I don't really feel he had a lot to worry about with the drivers that were immediately behind him. So I think obviously, yeah, he was a little bit sort of confident that he could kind of bring this home without any worries and any difficulties. But moving on, we do need to talk about a team. And I think at this stage, Damien definitely needs to put on that sort of DIY makeshift Williams hat, because it's time to talk about Williams and Mr. Smooth Operator. Smooth operator. Because Mr. Carlos Sainz brought it home today for the first podium for Williams. And I don't know how long. Damien, how long has it been since Williams have been on the podium? He came in P3, which was awesome. Yes, definitely tell us your thoughts on Albon as well. But Damien, take it away, Mr. Williams. I know, Azedra, I know you're a Williams fan as well. But I mean, Damien is wearing a Williams top and hat. It's like Williams puked all over him today.
Well, I don't have a Williams hat. I made my own DIY just for today. But yeah, I couldn't tell you when the last Williams podium was. It was probably pre-internet or something like that. It's been a while.
I wasn't born.
I think back, it was, I don't know, it was probably like Kubica or what do you call him, the Polish guy? Kubica, was it?
Kubica?
Or Kubica, yeah, that was probably the last one.
You go ahead and talk about that. I'll Google this. Yeah.
Qualifying Albon, Q1, turn one, bang, straight into, bit of a crash, clipped his wheel, and that was him out, and I was like, oh God, here we go. It's gonna be one of these weekends where, it's not just going their way, but Carlos really just, the qualifying he had was absolutely fantastic. Like, he just managed it so well through the various rounds, and to get to P2, front row of the grid. Again, I couldn't tell you the last time a Williams was on the front row of a grid. It's been a long time, but I think it just really shows the work that JV has been putting into that team since he's come in, and obviously the change of ownership has given them a lot more money than they had previously had. But it's progress. It's bit by bit, and it's all kind of forward trajectory in terms of their improvement. So this weekend was really just another one of those pieces of improvement. And then in the race, I was kind of like, okay, I hope he gets a good start. He can kind of hold in there. There was quite a few fast cars behind him. Obviously the Mercedes were in great form, the Racing Bulls in great form, and he had a couple of McLarens who were vying to get back up to the podium after having poor qualifying sessions. So he had a lot of pressure on him, and he did a great job throughout the whole race.
Just a quick little interruption there. So I'm just looking up these results here, these records. The last podium, and this is going to be a complete shocker, the last podium that Williams got was actually in 2021 with George Russell. He came in second place at Spa-Francorchamps. When it was absolutely pissing down Jurassic Park weather. He came second. And then prior to that, because when I actually Googled this and I was like, when was the last time Williams were on a podium? The first thing that came up was Lance Stroll in Baku back in 2017. He came P3. Lance Stroll was on a podium.
I wiped his Williams career from my memory.
I think so. But the last time Williams actually came first, or they were actually on pole, was back in 2012 in Barcelona with Pastor Maldonado. I don't know if I'm pronouncing. That's it. There you go. I don't even know how to pronounce his name there. Very forgettable person, probably. So yeah, he was first. And then prior to that was Juan Pablo Montoya in Brazil back in 2004 when Williams had the BMW engine. And it's funny because you even look at it here and it has like all the tires, all the different things. This is so cool. I'll send this on to you guys after this. This was all back when they were on like Michelin tires and Bridgestone, Goodyear. Jeez, they've had some fair amount of different. Well, Goodyear was dominated pretty much since like the very beginning, since like the 70s and the 80s. But anyway, look, we're getting off track here. The last podium was Spa-Francorchamps in 2021 with George Russell. But anyway, sorry, Damon, go on.
Yeah, I was so glad for Carlos because he's obviously, there's no two ways about it. It was a step down from Ferrari to come to Williams, but I think he was convinced of the project that's there and he took the gamble, and he saw it as a good option for him. So I'm glad it's starting to pay off because he's had a bit of bad luck on his side. There's been some races where, he's had issues and the car just, wasn't going the way he wanted to go. He had a couple of engine issues, those kind of things. So, and there was a couple of races where he created his own problems. That's for sure. But I think he deserved this one based on what he's done this season. And I think that the team really needed that to show that forward progression as well. So, but he had a fantastic race. He kept it up there. He did his pit stop. I think it was about lap 27, lap 28. And he got in at the right time, got back out. I think he came out about P6, maybe P7. And he just waited for the pit stops to work themselves out. And he got back up into the top three. I think probably Russell had a little bit too much for him when it came to that battle. And I think he knew it, but he tried to hold on the P2 as long as he could. But fantastic weekend. And he needed that bump in points because I think he'd scored maybe 30 points or something like that, or not even that at that stage. But that was a big win for Williams, and fantastic to see. And hopefully they can kind of pick up a few more podiums before the end of the season. And there were over 101 points now in the standings.
That's it.
Red Bull 272. Probably won't catch them, I don't think, but I think that's probably secured them the best of the rest. They're about 30 points ahead of Racing Bulls. That's a good result for them. Glad to see it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I totally agree with that. And I absolutely love Carlos Sainz. I loved him at Ferrari. I thought he was a great racer at Ferrari. And obviously, I was absolutely gutted to see him obviously going from Ferrari. But obviously, that was a good decision anyway, considering Ferrari's form this year. But no, hats off to Mr. Smooth Operator. I absolutely love him. I think he's a great driver ever since he joined the sport back when it was him and Max in Toro Rosso. But again, hopefully some more podiums for Williams. It'd be great to see that there. But I think at this stage, definitely, I think, look, they've a strong enough position now to kind of fend off from Racing Bulls. They're sitting there in 6th in the constructors at 72. Hopefully over the next 7 races, they can kind of hold on to that position there. But look, anything can happen between now and the final race. We all know what F1 is like. But moving on from Williams, the next team we're going to talk about is Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, with all the sponsors that they have in their name, F1 team. Yeah, so look, first of all, I do want to talk about Hajar. We will talk about the other guy who drives for them now very shortly. You take that back right now.
It's not Lance Stroll.
Don't talk about Lance Stroll. But anyway, Isaac Hajar. Look, I really feel with this weekend, Isaac Hajar was a little bit absent. I feel like he was a little bit panicky when Norris was coming up behind him. At that stage, he was like, "Come on, pit me! I don't want to be racing this guy." But I think obviously, look, we mentioned a little bit earlier on there in the episode that there was some sort of talks, or he was kind of playing a little bit coy that he might be going to Red Bull. Hopefully, he doesn't, because again, look, we've seen what this guy has been capable of all season. He's probably one of the best rookies that we've seen in the class of 2025. But he was a little bit absent in this race. He was just kind of racing his own race, and then eventually, look, he finished in P10. But Isidro, I'm going to give you the floor to talk about Mr. King Dick, or you know what, for this episode, look, I'll give him some credit. Mr. Liam Lawson, he did drive a very, very good race. And just to clarify, I don't hate Liam Lawson. I don't. I think he is a good driver, but he's a bit of a dick. Zicho, what are your thoughts on RB Racing Bulls this weekend?
I think this weekend was probably the best weekend for Lawson so far. The P3 in the qualification, the P5 in the race day, it kind of it helped boost the confidence of Lawson because he is a good driver. He's just a bit unlucky, let's say. And the fact that they brought him maybe too soon for the second seat of the Red Bull. And we all know that's a curse, that second seat. So I think today he was in that Racing Bull that he's familiar with. It was easier to fend off Tsunoda, for instance, that was driving the second Red Bull, and it's a car that no one likes. Tsunoda doesn't have the confidence that Lawson has on that Racing Bull, especially because he knows the car quite well. So this weekend was probably the best weekend for Lawson so far. Hopefully there'll be more weekends on the road. Let's wait and see. But I think Racing Bulls, they are doing a very good job with both drivers. Ajar, yeah, he was a bit transparent. I was surprised that he managed to make some points, and hopefully it was just being nervous about being demoted to the Red Bull Racing team for next year.
A little bit shaky in his boots this weekend.
Yeah.
He was like, oh shit, maybe I have to start making myself look really bad here.
Probably.
If there was ever a race that he wanted to bin the car to have a bad performance, this was the one, right?
He kind of got away with it in Australia a little bit, like with the tears and everything, and then DNFing and then all that kind of stuff. I think he was definitely off of what do you call him? Helmut Marko. Yeah, he was definitely off his radar at the very start of the season. But yeah, this was the race to do that. But sorry, Isidro, go on.
Yeah, I think he really wants to start cooling down and start doing bad things to see if Red Bull say, oh, he needs to stay in Racing Bulls for another year to get experience because he deserves better than being demoted.
We're going to go to Singapore now and Q1, he's just going to bid it straight into turn one. It's like, oh shit, sorry, P20. Whoops, I don't know. I'm just such a bad driver. Whoa, stay here for another year. Whoopsie. And then come the race, he just stalls the car. God, I just can't get a grip to this. I just need one more season in this team.
He's going to become a Sonny Hayes, just causing chaos.
That's it. He's just going to turn into Sonny Hayes. But yeah, look, I have to give hats off to Liam Lawson. He did drive a really good race. He put up a magnificent defense against Yuki Tsunoda, Charles Leclerc. I mean, there were so many people who were trying to overtake Liam Lawson. He just literally stuck his ass in the middle of that track and he just made sure nobody overtook him. So definitely, yeah, 100%. He did do a good race. And that's the only time, well, I did give him credit before, but that's the only time I'm ever going to give him major credit for the rest of this season. But no, hats off to Liam Lawson. But anyway, look, moving on, there's one team I do want to talk about because we kind of touched on this a little bit lightly in terms of drivers getting the swap out, like, we've seen the Lawson Tsunoda swap and all that kind of stuff. I really do want to talk about Alpine. Now, obviously, look, Alpine were very absent in this race. I mean, P18 and P19, I mean, this is just kind of usual form for the Alpine team. But there's one point in particular that I do want to bring up here. So I was just having to think about it today, right? So obviously, look, we've seen in qualifying, Gasly, yes, he overshot the braking area for turn 4 or 5 or whatever turn it was. And then he brought out the red flag during the qualifying session. But Franco Colapinto literally coming up behind him, and then he's like, whoop, 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 straight into the wall because he's like, oh shit. And then he's straight into the wall and boom, he's gone. But then again, yes, look, I know he had that incident with Albon. Look, that wasn't really Colapinto's fault. That was more so Albon's fault. He stuck his nose into a gap that was just not there whatsoever. But the fact of the matter is that when you look at Colapinto's record ever since he came into the season in Imola, right? So Colapinto has raced in 11 races, including this one, and has achieved 0 points. But Flavio Briatore got rid of Jack Doohan after 6 races because he had 0 points. Chaps, Do you honestly think Flavio made the biggest mistake of his life with bringing this guy back? I mean, like, this is not really sort of like a justice for Doohan sort of segment or whatever, but at the end of the day, like, I mean, Doohan only had 6 races and then that's him gone. You know, like he's not even doing much in terms of like racing himself or testing or any of that kind of stuff. Like this guy, he fought really hard in like F2 and like other races and stuff like that to try and get himself into F1. 6 races and then that's him gone. And then Flavio puts all of his cards or all of his eggs into the Colapinto basket, which was a huge mistake. Guys, what are your thoughts on this whole situation? Could Doohan possibly have a chance to come back here? I mean, is this team going to sign Colapinto again for another season? What's going to happen there? Damien, real quick, what are your thoughts?
Well, first off, I don't think anybody wants to talk about Alpine, really, to be honest. So.
I know. But it's just, I do want to talk about this because I just really feel Jack Doohan, he just got the short straw. He got the short end of the straw. And I just really feel that he deserved better than this. You know, after Briatore going, you know, he's going to score points. You have to do this and you have to do X, Y, and Z. And he's given him 11 races and he has done jack shit to even prove that he's capable of being there.
Yeah, well, look, the Alpine car is pure muck. It's rubbish. It's probably the worst car we've seen in many years. And I think the previous car last year was pretty poor as well. Like it doesn't have that much pace. You know, it's rubbish in the corners. I don't really know what it's good for, to be honest. You know, it's lagging at the back. So I think Pierre Gasly has like 20 points this season, and I don't know how he's done that. That's like an absolute miracle. I think that says more about Gasly being a very good driver than anything else. So anybody who's in the second seat of that team is at a severe handicap. It's just a bad car. I think the difference between Doohan and Colapinto is that Briatore didn't feel that Doohan was being kind of aggressive enough or really getting in the mix enough. He was just kind of, you know, going through the motions. He wasn't really, you know, at the level that was required. On the other hand, I think if you bring in a rookie like that, you need to give him more than 6 races to kind of get up to that pace, you know.
Yeah.
Colapinto, I think he got a handful of points, maybe 5 or 6 for Williams last year, but again, I think he's too far the other way in terms of aggressiveness. Like we've seen him do stupid stuff, and I don't know how many cars he's wrecked between Williams and Alpine in the past 12 or 18 months. But it's really hard to know. There is rumors that McLaren want Alex Dunn to be put into a fellow kind of Mercedes engined team, and next year obviously Alpine will be.
That's true.
Have a Mercedes engine, so there's a lot of talk that Alex Dunn might be in for that seat, which would be, well, I don't know if that's a good thing or not for him, but you know, it's a bit like that second Red Bull seat. It's a little bit of a poison chalice. You know, if you're going to the worst team, is it better to be in F1 in the worst team or, you know, be somewhere else? So I think there's options there. If we're just looking at Doohan and Colapinto, it's really hard, but I think you'd probably stick with Colapinto, to be honest. Unless Doohan shows anything in preseason testing or, you know, something else, he'll probably keep Colapinto, I'd imagine. But who knows with Briatore, he's a complete maverick, so yeah, there could be another option lined up there as well.
Yeah, and just real quick, Isidro, your thoughts on the Alpine situation. Just want to know, do you think it was a big mistake to bring in Colapinto for this long? Doohan, did he deserve better? I know obviously Damien mentioned there about the whole Alex Dunn rumor. Just real quick, what are your thoughts?
I'm surprised that Alpine doesn't have the sponsorship from JCB or John Deere because it really suits that car.
There we go. There we have it. That is the Isidro quote of the episode. Hats off. That's awesome. That's it.
But basically, Colapinto just had more money than Jack Doohan, and that's all Briatore wanted, money. So yeah. Colapinto shows up with the South American sponsors that had much more money than Jack Doohan, and that was it.
Yeah.
The Alpine is not a great car, and I think Colapinto deserves better than driving that Alpine. No one should be driving the Alpine, not even Gasly. But Gasly is like another Leclerc in Ferrari. The soul is gone. It just Now it's just a body there.
That's it. I think that's literally it at this stage. Oh, poor Pierre Gasly. Because look, at the end of the day, he is a really good driver, and honestly, I feel he really does deserve better. Like, I know, obviously, you know, his whole thing with Red Bull and Racing Bulls. Well, they were Alpha Tauri or whatever it was at the time. But honestly, look, I feel like that guy definitely deserves a much better car, because I do feel that he can fight up there at the top. But as you said, it's just that car is just a shitbox, basically. But look, we're going to move on. That was the Baku GP, or the Azerbaijani GP. It was definitely an interesting one. Personally, again, look, I've made my opinion quite clear. I'm not a fan of street racing. I found probably 10% of that race exciting, and then the rest was just DRS trains going through streets, all single file, no chance of overtaking, bar one big long straight and then a small little straight. That was my own opinion. I know you guys enjoyed it, and I hope everyone listening I hope you enjoyed it this weekend. But let us know your thoughts below. Do you enjoy the old Baku GP? Do you enjoy street racing? What are your thoughts on this weekend's race? But overall, your classification or race result for the Azerbaijan GP was Max Verstappen in P1, George Russell in P2, Carlos Sainz, Mr. Smooth Operator, in P3, Kimi Antonelli in P4, Liam Lawson, I'm going to refrain from his usual nickname, in P5, Yuki Tsunoda in P6, claiming some points there for Red Bull, Lando Norris in P7, Lewis Hamilton in P8, Charles Leclerc in P9, and finally, to wrap up your top 10, was Mr. Isaac Hajar. And then finally as well, we had one DNF, and that was Mr. Oscar Piastri, right into the wall. So yeah, that was the Baku GP. Moving on to our next segment, chaps, is our driver of the day, our dick of the day, and our loser of the day. Damien, I'll take yours DDL first. Who was your DDL?
I had driver of the day as Mr. Carlos Sainz. Driver of the weekend, have to give it to him. Close second for me would have been Mr. Liam Lawson. Not to make
I almost
on
spat up my drink there for a second. I was like, what did he just say?
But yeah, you have to hand it to Carlos and Williams this weekend. He himself and his team really just absolutely nailed it for that first podium. It was fantastic. Dick of the day, I'm going to give it to Piastri.
Why is he a dick?
The start of that day, or the start of that race, he just acted like a dick. Stalled his car, panicked, raced into the corner, smashed into a wall. He's just being a dick.
Your description of a dick is definitely different to my description of a dick. two different dicks going on here.
He was just being a dick, Calm down. You've got a whole race. You've got a really good car. Just chill. Don't just bin it into the corner out of frustration.
Yeah.
Loser of the day, I had Lando. He had such a good chance to catch up, and yeah, he just didn't do it. He wasn't with it at all. So yeah, big loser of the day is Lando for me.
And Isidro, who is your drive of the day, your dick of the day, and your loser of the day?
More or less like Damien. The driver of the day is Sainz. I was thinking about Lawson because he did a great job defending his position, but I think Sainz overall driving that Williams to a podium after so many years, it truly deserving drive of the day. The dick of the day is Piastri for all the reasons that Damien said, but also because he is being a dick. It made Alonso look bad and have a penalty, and you don't do that to Fernando. Fernando is more than F1, so that's for me that's dick of the day right there.
Yeah.
Finally, loser Ferrari, because they show so much promise during the practice, and then come Saturday we start seeing disappointment arriving, and we get Sunday and the disappointment train is here. It derailed, and we saw Ferrari finishing basically a P8, P9 when it's supposed to be a P4 or maybe dreaming a podium, but no, Ferrari is going down, is slowly going downhill.
That's it. As I say, Isidro, dream big. But this weekend, it was all aboard the choo-choo disappointment Ferrari train. All aboard. Yeah, very, very disappointing. But definitely agree. Definitely agree with all that. My drive of the day was, of course, Max. He's not getting any love here for some reason. I'm giving it to Max. Look, yeah, he was in a different postcode. He was doing his own thing. Clean race. Awesome qualifying lap. Giving it to Max. There you go, buddy. I know he probably doesn't listen to the episode or the show, but hey, look, gotta dream big. Gotta dream big like a Ferrari podium. And then also as well, my dick of the day is the McLaren pit crew, because I firmly believe that if Lando hadn't had messed that pit stop up, or the pit crew hadn't messed Lando's pit stop up, I think he definitely would have had a good chance to possibly even get by Lawson, or get further up the field there. So yeah, I'm giving it to the McLaren pit crew. They're my dick of the day, the collective dick train of McLaren pit crew, because again, another weekend where they completely mess up a stop. And then my loser of the day is the McLaren team in total. Basically, Piastri in the wall and messed up pit stop. Yep, those are my losers of the day. But yeah, definitely a good one. Moving on, folks, we're going to talk about our predictions game, because this weekend it is definitely going to get very, very spicy, because I'm taking a look here at some of the predictions for the Baku GP. Now, obviously, Dave did send in his predictions, and we're going to run through each of them here just to see exactly where we end up this weekend. Who knows? It could be a Damien P1, or maybe this is where Dave clinches the title for going into the following weekend. But anyway, moving on. Dave, he had Max in P1 with 1 point. He had Russell in P2, which gave him another point. And then he had Leclerc in P3. So that was a bit of a womp. But he did have a McLaren double DNF. Now, this is a bit of a gray area. Isidro, you are the FIA steward here. You make the decisions. Are we given a half a point here because technically one did go into the wall, or is this just a thing? No, 0 points. Had to be both of them.
Double is a magic word here.
Yeah.
Double DNF, not single.
Right. Okay. Perfect.
Oh, 0.
0
But
points.
yeah, close enough.
Close enough. Very close. Very close. But his surprise was Sainz inside the top 10. So Dave managed to pick up 3 points this weekend. Isidro, what were your predictions?
Oh, so disappointing. I had Piastri P1, Norris P2, and Max P3.
And then what was your flop and surprise?
My flop was Alchar outside top 10. Almost make it. And Sainz inside top 10.
Yeah. But in fairness, though, I didn't really do much better, because I had Norris in P1, which was 0, Piastri in P2, which was a 0, and then Verstappen in P3, which was a 0. Then I had Bortoletto outside the top 10, which did actually happen. He came in P11, sorry. So that's actually 1 point for me. And then also Behrman inside the top 10, which was a bit of a womp for me. So both myself and Isidro on 1 point this weekend. But finally, we do move on to Damien. Damien, what are your predictions?
I had Max P1, I had Russell P2, and I had Sainz P3.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a fib there, I think, Damien.
I had Piastri, Lando, and Russell. I was close on Russell. I definitely thought he was going to get back in there, but yeah, I had him in P3 instead of P2, unfortunately.
Close but no cigar.
Yeah, exactly. My flop, I had Antonelli outside the top 10, which was a 0, and surprise, Sainz inside the top 10, so I get a single point for that one.
So that means Dave wins this week of the predictions game, which currently means that Dave is on 27 points. Isidro, you're on 19. I'm currently on 22 and Damien's on 25. So it looks like Dave has taken the top spot for the predictions game. But of course, look, all of that can change going into the next race. We're not back next weekend. It's the following weekend, because it's going to be on the 3rd to the 5th of October, which will be the Singapore GP. So Dave, look, he hasn't sent in his predictions yet, but Isidro, can you run me through your predictions for Singapore?
So I'm back to the traditional Piastri P1, Norris P2, and Max P3. I think Red Bull luck it will not work for Singapore. Then I have Tsunoda outside top 10 as my flop, and Albon inside top 10 as my surprise.
Oh, interesting. A lot of faith going in there to into Albon. Well, they do say isn't Singapore his like second home or his home Grand Prix or something like that. They usually say for Albon, like everyone at Singapore loves Alex Albon. So who knows? Maybe he could get he could get that that home support, as they say, from the fans, and who knows, I can maybe get him inside the top 10 there. Who knows? It could happen. It could happen. For my predictions, I'm going with a little bit of a last year's sort of result. I'm going with Norris in P1. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, Norris, no, that's not going to happen. But I'm going to go with Norris in P1 because I actually feel this is a track that he does like. I feel he's really good around this track. I feel he's capable of doing it in the car that he has. I think he can get it there, P1. For Verstappen, I'm going P2, and then I'm going with Piastri in P3. I really feel that Verstappen is going to blitz those two McLarens next weekend, but I could be talking absolute bollocks. Who knows? But we'll see what happens come the Singapore Grand Prix. Then I have Lawson outside the top 10, and then I have Alonso inside the top 10, Mr. Rookie that he is inside the top 10. Damien, what are your predictions for Singapore?
I have Lando in P1, I have Max in P2, and Piastri in P3.
Oh, you just copying what I'm doing?
I don't know. Do you? Oh, yeah, you had the same, did you?
Oh, you have the same. I didn't know.
I think I had mine in first, but anyway. Yeah, I'm kind of counting or hoping that Lando will kind of grow a pair and just get back in this championship and take it by the let's not say who's going to take it by, but anyway. My flop, I have Yuki outside the top 10. I think he had a great race this past weekend, but not sure about him finishing in the top 10 in Singapore. It's always a tough, hot, long race, and yeah, that Red Bull, second Red Bull has never gone too well there, I don't think.
Hot.
Right. I'm going for Albon inside the top 10. So yeah, the Williams are going to continue on their good form with another few more points.
They're going to capitalize off of this weekend's victory. Isidro has a follow-up point.
The question for both of you: does Norris can get that P1 with team orders or without team orders?
Oh, look at you throwing shade. Throwing shade. I honestly think he's going to get it off pure merit and skill.
Whatever happens, Papaya rules, baby. Come on.
I don't understand this Lando Norris shade. I don't get it. He's a good driver. But look, folks, that was good. That was definitely a good one. But of course, look, Dave is in the lead. Damien, you're going to have to get your finger out. You're going to have to overtake him in the Singapore GP. Hopefully he doesn't copy your predictions now just to try and keep the lead there. But we'll see, obviously, what will happen when Singapore comes around. But look, anyway, chaps, thank you so much for this evening. It was great to talk about the lovely Azerbaijan GP. Again, I don't like street tracks, but hey, look, yous do. But it was good to talk to you about the entire weekend. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk about some F1.
Thank you.
Awesome. And folks as well, look, let us know your thoughts on this weekend in general. What did you think of the qualifying? What did you think of the race? What did you think overall of some of our talking points and thoughts over the episode? Let us know if you're a Williams fan below. Let us know if you're a McLaren fan. What are your thoughts going into next weekend? We know they're going to take the constructors anyway, but who do you think is going to take the drivers? We'd love to know your thoughts. But yeah, look, if you enjoyed today's episode, definitely make sure to smack the shit out of that like button. Smack it like it's going out of style. Smack it red, baby. And look, if you want to hear more of our episodes, definitely make sure to stick around and click that lovely subscribe button so you never miss out on future episodes and whenever we decide to make some content on our channels and stuff. So if you're listening to us on Spotify, YouTube, and all that good stuff, make sure to click all those buttons and to show us some love. But until next time, folks, we will see you from the 3rd to the 5th of October for the Singapore GP. Adios.